allow me to introduce you to our dear friend, Michael. All right, this is Michael. He is a medical doctor. He is the professor of the Department of Bioethics at Case Western Reserve University. Okay, so this is his page. Now, here's the thing about Michael. Also bioethics, in case anybody didn't know, it's basically someone who's teaching the ethics of medical and biological research. Well, dear friend Michael, he went out and he wrote an opinion piece on defeating COVID-19 by requiring vaccination for all. It's not un-American, it's patriotic. Which, that's just the headline, right? So surely it can't be that bad. I'm going to keep Michael up for the duration of this particular bit, just so we can see. Let's see if I can get it back up. There we go. Cool. So there's Michael, and these are his words. We'll scroll down a little bit. To win the war against the novel coronavirus that has killed over 158,000 people in the country, the only answer is compulsory vaccination for all of us. To my knowledge, a vaccine has not been created, but that's the only answer. While the measures that will be necessary to defeat the coronavirus will seem draconian, even anti-American to some, we believe, I don't know who this we is, we believe that there is no alternative. Simply put, getting vaccinated is going to be our patriotic duty. And he goes on to talk about the concept of herd immunity, but let's see, here we go. Oh yeah, what America must do when the vaccine is ready: make vaccinations free and easily accessible. So he wants to take your money through taxation or whatever mechanism and force you to pay for medicines. And then the only people he would exempt would be people who have a medical contraindication. I'm guessing that's basically something to the effect of like an allergic reaction. And he specifically calls out, do not honor religious objections. The major religions do not officially oppose vaccinations. Okay, intriguing. Do not allow for objections for personal preference, which violate the social contract. Oh, dear Patrick, what might be this social contract of which he is referring to? What could it possibly be?
Well, that's our theme, right?
Yeah, really. How can government and society assure compliance with protective vaccines? He goes on to say basically you can lose tax credits, deny non-essential government benefits, not including getting refunded for those being denied of non-essential government benefits, which I'm totally fine if people want to be able to opt out of things. That would be super duper. Then he talks about some non-government mandated stuff. You could have a higher premium for somebody who refuses immunization.
Yeah, but those higher premiums
will
probably be mandated though.
Haven't seen it in this. I mean, obviously, this is just an opinion piece. It's not necessarily putting forth legislation. But I think the opinion is important to dissemble from the ethics standpoint of it. Private businesses could refuse to employ or serve unvaccinated individuals. Schools could refuse to allow unimmunized children to attend classes. Public and commercial transit companies, airlines, trains, and buses could exclude refusers. He says the only legal limitation or private action that is not to be discriminatory, and it's hard to see how discrimination would occur if vaccinations were free and accessible to all, which is interesting because he's literally saying discriminate against people who haven't taken this particular medical procedure. He's just defining discrimination as something other than discrimination. How would it be tracked? You get a little card that would be issued to everybody, whether they're legal or not, inside the system. Here we go. We acknowledge that, once again, we acknowledge that refusal to obey rules one considers unjust is an American tradition. But another cornerstone of the American tradition is that we come together when it's necessary. The best example of this was during 2 world wars. Everyone contributed. No one was allowed to opt out merely because it conflicted with their sense of autonomy. Only a sense of autonomy. It's not your body, it's not your property. It's only a sense, kind of a vague perception, okay? And draft dodgers who refused to serve were subject to penalties. Also, people who spoke out with the Aliens and Seditions Act were subject to criminal and civil penalties, FYI. I guess he forgot about that part where if you said the wrong thing, you may be thrown in jail, particularly during World War I. True, conscientious objectors could refuse to use weapons for religious reasons, but they were obligated to help out in other ways, serving in non-combat roles. And he says there are no such alternatives for vaccinations. So that is kind of the the bit on our dearest friend Michael, it blows me away that somebody who is the professor of bioethics, like to determine what is right and wrong whenever it comes to administering or not administering medicines to people that are efficacious or inefficacious, right? Would then say, you know what? We'll just make everybody do it. I wonder where his line is personally. Like if we said, hey, in the common cold, you know what? You need to have, I don't know, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C up your butt every single day, or else you're not allowed to do whatever. He may say, whoa, it's my choice as far as how much I want to protect myself from this particular thing that I think is or is not dangerous to my life and my property. Too bad. You've already publicly espoused forcing other people to do things, so you get the same treatment. Quid pro quo, baby.
It's whatever he thinks is important. That's where his line is. If he thinks it's vital or necessary or important enough, then all those pesky ideas like autonomy and self-ownership and rights and all that stuff, we have something more important than that right now. We're just going to back burner that until we're done doing what I think is important. The sort of consequentialist idea behind this stuff, the ends justify the means, that's not an ethical framework. That is the absence of ethics. It's just whatever you think is something that you're going to use force on other people for. That's the absence of ethics. So for a bioethics professor type to be advocating the literal absence of ethics, that is hilariously ironic. Thanks for finding that story for us. Okay, now I'm ready.
There you go. Put me up full. I got you covered.
All right, you do it.
Hey, everybody, if you enjoyed the content that you liked, go to disenthrall.me. That's DISENTA. Well, you can spell it and then go over to our content or support us. You can become a subscriber, and then you'll be able to see everything for the rest of time, or at least as long as you're a subscriber. Because this thing that you're watching right now, whether it's on YouTube or any of the other streaming platforms, it's going to be gone in like a few minutes.
Yeah. So basically
that's my pitch.
The full live stream is going to be reserved for our supporters. If you want to go to disenthrall.me/support, you can become a supporter. You can see the full live stream. And for everybody else in the general public, we're just going to be clipping out the good stuff and releasing that publicly on all the normal platforms.